Dr. Smith, I know you're not originally from El Paso, so can you tell us a little bit about where you came from and how you came to live in El Paso?
Well, I actually grew up in Los Angeles County. I went to Torrance High School in Torrance, California, which is actually right by Long Beach. And I decided that at an early age, I decided I wanted to go into medicine. My mother actually went back to college and became a nurse, and she came home from school all the time talking about what it was like, and I decided that was an exciting field and I wanted to go into it. So I applied to medical school, and I actually got accepted initially into UCLA medical school, but when it came time to begin, I decided to go to LSU in Louisiana. And part of it was because I met a doctor in Louisiana that gave me a job working in the summertime and stuff like that.
Was that a big change from Los Angeles to Louisiana?
It was a big change, but it was fun. I mean, it was kind of out in the country, and it had a lot of stuff that I like. You know, outdoor stuff, guns.
Oh, we'll get there.
But and so then I went to medical school and decided I wanted to go into orthopedics. Went into orthopedics initially. Then I did a fellowship in spine surgery, which I did at USC, Rancho Los Amigos, USC in California. When I got out of my fellowship in spine, my wife wanted to move to the southwestern United States. And we looked, and there's a large group here in El Paso that was looking for a spine surgeon. So I basically took that opportunity. And basically I've been doing spine surgery ever since here in El Paso. I've been here since, actually I moved here in June of 1993.
Oh, wow.
Initially I was with the big orthopedic group. Just like so many doctors in town, it seems like everybody you bumped into when they first came to town was initially in that group. And I stayed in the group until 2005 when I finally realized my dream of opening my own spine center.
Wow.
And that's what I do now. Basically, I specialize in minimally invasive spinal surgery, both the neck and lower back. And my goal is to bring the latest cutting-edge technology to El Paso so that people won't have to travel other places. I always say that we have the most advanced or equally advanced equipment as the equipment you can find any place in the world. We're certainly on the cusp of minimally invasive spinal technology.
What are some of the things that you have that are different from some of the other spine practitioners in the area? What were some of the other things that you do special?
Well, we do completely endoscopic, minimally invasive lumbar fusions, for example, where we can decompress the spine, fuse the spine, and people can go home the same day, back to normal activity very quickly. As you know, since the fact that you do a lot of the videos, we have people who, within a couple of weeks, have gone back to riding horses, skiing, all kinds of, we get testimonials all the time on amazing things people have done after a lumbar fusion.
It always amazes me seeing how fast people recover. Like, some people come in a few days after surgery, and on our YouTube channel, I know there's a testimonial from a guy that was playing catch with his son 4 days after major spine surgery.
Actually, after a lumbar fusion,
It
really is amazing. It's amazing to me because I've seen the way spinal technology has changed in my lifetime. When I first started, if somebody had a lumbar fusion, that was a huge surgical procedure. And it was so huge, people would be in the hospital for days. They would have to donate blood, maybe have a family member donate blood as well.
Wow.
Nowadays, it's done as an outpatient through a tiny little incision.
Wow.
It's kind of like when I look back at some of the surgeries that I used to see as an intern, you would think, oh, I would hate to have that done. I couldn't imagine that. Really just about anything, even like you'd see somebody have a gallbladder out. That was a huge surgery. And nowadays they do it in strip malls as an outpatient, you know.
You don't do anything in strip malls. No.
No strip malls. But it's just amazing the way the technology has changed. Or I used to look at somebody having like a knee replacement, and I would think, oh, I would hate to have that done. Now you look at it, they do it using a robot, and they go home the same day with that as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's fascinating the way the technology has changed.
You might stay in overnight, but most patients, they're ready to walk out pretty quick, right?
Yeah, and it really is amazing. I love gimmicks. I love toys. You know, I love all the tools that we play with, all the minimally invasive stuff. And really, when you look at the way the technology changes for minimally invasive spinal surgery, it actually changes faster than, for example, cell phone technology changes. You know, so, you know, if I look at the way I do, for example, a lumbar fusion today, if you had told me 5 years ago I would be doing it this way, I wouldn't believe you. Just like if you tried to tell somebody 5 or 10 years ago what an iPhone was like, they would think you're crazy. There's no way. You know,
kind of on keeping on technology. I know we do a lot on social media. What made you want to be so active in terms of Instagram, YouTube, all of those things?
Well, there's really two factors. One is just the kid in me. I love the toys. I love playing with all the, you know, all the technology just fascinates me. And I always was looking for a better way to film a surgical procedure. But even more than that, I felt YouTube was the future. I think that's the way you explain things to people.
Absolutely.
Nowadays, when people have a question, they go to YouTube. Let's YouTube it. And when it comes to spine surgery, there's so much misinformation out there, and I thought it is probably the best way that I can get information to people.
Yeah.
That's why I'll show people, you know, just after they've had surgery, to let people see what it's like. Because of the misinformation, you know, you talk to your neighbor or something and they say, oh, never get your back operated on. When in reality, I mean, you see The Office, 99.9% of the people are amazed at how well they do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's getting off topic.
It's a good way to, I use it as an educational tool. If somebody in the office, if I get a question frequently, then I'll make a video on that. If somebody asks me, like, you know, what is, I don't know, a spondylolisthesis in the spine, well, then I'll make a video on it. And so often I'll pick a topic and then I'll YouTube it to see if there's a video on it, and there'll be no good video. And it's amazing to me that in this day and age, you can't YouTube and find a good video explaining something about spine, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, you may see a video done by some big name person someplace, but it's very dull, very dry. And unless you know a lot about the spine, you're probably not going to get it.
Yeah.
So I try to explain things simply in language people can understand. So it's a way of getting information out there, mostly.
I know that you have a lot of equipment. I know you also really like drones. So can you tell me, like, what's the favorite drone that you've used, period, out of all the ones that you have?
Well, it's difficult to say. I mean, of course, I buy every drone that comes out, just about. The idea of flying, and I guess the technology of it just fascinates me. The first one I ever got was one of the Phantoms by DJI when it first came out. And I just, you know, I saw it on YouTube or something, and I thought that's kind of neat. And so I went and got one. And when I started playing with it, I was amazed at how it flew and what it could do. I mean, literally, it would, like, at the time I took it off, I was in my garage, and it just kind of sat there. I mean, I could have set a drink on top of it, and it would have just stayed there. It was just fascinating to me. And then my parents lived just down the block, you know, actually about a mile away. I could go to my parents' house, push a button, the thing would take off at my parents' house, come and land within 6 inches.
Wow. Even I didn't know they did that.
You know, oh yeah, and it was just fascinating that they had that kind of technology. So once I started learning about it, then I just, you know how I am about gimmicks and toys and
Oh, yeah.
electronic technology, you know.
Kind of following up on the gimmicks thing, I know you one time got an award for Instagram or recognition for something. What was that?
Oh, well, the weirdest doctor on the internet. That was by, what's the name of that? It's some magazine online.
Wired? Something like
Wired or .com or something, but it's a really big magazine. And they called me to do the interview, but I didn't even know who it was. So I kind of dissed them a little bit, I think. And they were a little shocked that I didn't know who it was. And so they kind of wrote a hit piece on me. Like,
oh, gosh.
The
That's
weirdest
not cool.
doctor on the internet. But, you know, if you read it, they kind of got nice towards the end. You know, at the beginning, it was like really... like kind of, you could tell they were trying to be mean, but by the end, you know, they basically had some nice stuff to say because, you know, really, if you look what I do, it's just basically trying to get information to people and try to explain stuff. So yeah, I make some silly videos, but you know,
Lots of fun ones. Lots of fun ones.
But I mean, my main goal is just to get information to people.
I know some of the videos we go out in the desert and we play with some other toys. Can you tell us a little bit about some of those other toys that you like to play with?
Well, I love guns, and I don't hunt. I've been hunting, but I've never actually shot anything. Mostly, once again, it's just the technology of shooting. Like recently, I just got the Scar 20S, which is anybody that's into guns knows what that is. It's a very nice gun. And I got a scope to go with it, which is has a 25 magnification. So we're going to go out and make a video one of these days and see how
long
far
range,
we can
very long
shoot.
range.
You know, probably like set like a gallon jug out maybe 500 yards away and just shoot at it.
That's a good use of the drones. We can send the drones out so we can actually see what we're actually shooting at.
Exactly, and that's another. It just fascinates me too that. With the human eye, you can't even see what you're shooting at. It is so far away, and yet when you look through the scope, not only can you hit the item, but you can hit it a certain part of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like out of sight, but yet using the technology.
Something's coming up.
You can do it. So yeah, that's just that's one of my hobbies.
Tell me a little bit about what advantages there are of being in El Paso. Like, obviously, there are bigger cities, Austin, Dallas, whatever. What is it that's really good about the Spine Center being in El Paso that keeps you here as opposed to going somewhere else?
Well, I wanted to, initially, I like the idea of going to some place where there was a need. You know, being one other spine surgeon in a big city, among many, I wanted to go someplace where there was a demand, a need, nobody else doing what I do. Basically helping people that otherwise would not have had access to it. You know, many times for minimally invasive surgery, you got to travel to other cities. There's a lot of extra costs. They charge a lot of extra money. And in our case, basically we take Medicare. I don't know if we want to get into the insurances and stuff like that. I probably shouldn't. Don't want to talk about money. But basically, I wanted to be in a place where I could serve a population that needed me. You know, there's something about being needed in a community where otherwise there'd be nobody doing it.
What are some of your favorite things about the city? Besides all the construction on the west side.
Well, you know, I grew up in Los Angeles, so the initial move to El Paso was like, it was culture shock. In fact, at the time I was going to USC, and I interviewed for a job out here with the big group. And it was, they really wanted me because there's nobody doing what I do. And so they were willing to do just about anything to get me to come. So finally I said, okay, I'll take the job. And then after I did it, after I accepted the job, I went back home and I kind of got cold feet. I said, El Paso, where's El Paso? And in the middle of the night, I jumped in the car with my family and we drove all the way from Los Angeles to El Paso.
Oh my gosh.
And
That's like an 18-hour drive, something like that?
Not that much. It was like 10, 12.
Okay, that's still a pretty long drive.
It was a long drive. And we stopped and I stayed in the La Quinta on the west side of town with my family. Still there. And at the time, there wasn't that much building on the west side, so it was like the last thing in town.
Oh, wow.
And I remember one morning I got up after I came back to check the community and stuff, and I walked out on the balcony and I looked off in the distance, and there's nothing but like just desert. It was the middle of the summer. It was like 105, and I said, "What have I done? I'm going to leave El Paso, and I'm never coming back." But then I changed my mind. I stayed, and now it's home, and I love it. I love the people, the community. I love the culture. I don't know what else. What else can I say?
That's fine. What are some things you do kind of for fun besides flying drones and shooting?
Flying drones and shooting, which is I used to ride motorcycles out in the desert until my wife made me sell them all. So I don't do that now. But that's one of the advantages of living in El Paso is you can go out to the desert and do so much if you love the desert. And I think the desert's beautiful. A lot of people don't like it, but I just think I'm fascinated by it. When I was a kid, as I keep mentioning, I grew up in Los Angeles by the ocean. So I used to surf and stuff like that a lot. And when it was like for vacations, we would load up the car with our motorcycles and ride out to the desert, which was an all-day drive. And so it was such a treat to go out there and just camp in the desert. And now I drive outside of the town and there it is. So even to this day, I think, oh man, people should be taking advantage of that. But
you kind of talked about the change you've seen on the west side. How do you feel about all the growth and all the changes that are happening here?
Well,
you talked about being in the area to help people. What are some of the farthest away people that have come here to be treated by you?
We actually have people come from all over the place, and I mean, really, probably every state of the union.
Oh wow!
I mean,
I didn't realize it was that much.
From Alaska, every place has come. And then sometimes people will move off, and then they'll come back to us even though they've moved away.
Oh wow! Because they know what good treatment they have here. Awesome.
Correct.
How do you think? Do you think the Spine Center is contributing or helping the city grow in any way? How do you think do you think there's any, or how do you see the Spine Center helping the city grow in the future?
Well, as I mentioned, my goal is to always stay on the cutting edge, have the latest, most advanced technology, and I think just the fact that people have access to that may make people more likely to come to the city. If you have good health care, then you're more likely to go to that city. And just bringing the technology into town. Many times I have started doing things in town, and then it's spread out. Other physicians have taken it and made it their own.
So you're really leading the way for that.
On a lot of stuff, I believe so. For example, kyphoplasties, which is a minimally invasive technique we use to fix fractured vertebral bodies in the elderly. That's something that we brought to town. Nobody else was doing. It's commonplace now, but at the time I was the only one doing it. And there's other things like that, like the endoscopic lumbar spinal fusions, several things like that.
Wow. I think we just had a hard break, and I hardly felt anything. Is that kind of, did we have a little bit of a hard break there, but we didn't really feel anything back here? I get that feeling.
Well, let me tell you, did you know, this thing right now that you guys are on the
this car
technology.
Yeah, what about the technology?
So, Audi is very proud to say that they lead the way in technology. So as far as that, like you said, you heard a little beep, but a slight braking. This thing has more than 25 different computer systems that basically the car can see.
Oh, wow.
Everything that's going on around it. So cross traffic alert, it'll slam on the brakes. If somebody decides to run a red light and you didn't even notice, this thing will even, if I keep going, it'll stop. It'll slam on the brakes, including if you're backing up.
Oh, wow.
So I mean, this thing, it's like I tell all my clients, if you crash this thing, it's not your fault, because there's no way you can physically crash this thing. Somebody has to crash you. But just a little snippet of technology on this, on the new Q8.
Well, it certainly drives smooth. It's very nice.
Oh, yeah.
German technology at its best.
I agree.
When did this car actually come out?
This one, we just received it 2 months ago.
Oh, wow.
So this one literally just came out. We have yet to sell one.
And which model is this?
This is actually the Prestige 2019 Q8. So it has every option you can possibly add to the car.
Wow.
MSRP is at $91,350.
Wow.
But it's like I always tell my clients. I mean, the touchscreen is. I mean,
Yeah, there's I've seen multiple screens. Is that everything's kind of touchscreen right now?
yes, sir.
Nice. So we wanted to say thank you for Audi and Las Palmas del Sol Hospital for helping us with the City Magazine to bring this project to life. It's a lot of fun. It's a blast. Thank you, Dr. Smith, for taking the time to do this little ride along and interview. And
Certainly.
I had a lot of fun.
I had fun too. I enjoyed it. Thank you very much for inviting me.
George, this is a great car.
I love
Really
it.
nice.
It's smooth.
It's the driver, guys.
And do we get to keep it?
Consolation of paper, rock, scissors for you.
It's beautiful, I tell you.